To initiate this exploration into the transformative power of sacred words, we need to begin with the ancient and profound role of sound itself. Sound has long been regarded as a primal force, existing before written language, even perceived as the building block of creation in many traditions. The idea that certain sounds hold a unique vibration capable of aligning human consciousness with the divine is ancient, transcending cultures and continents. Each sacred sound encapsulates an entire worldview, belief system, and a specific vibrational frequency that has, over centuries, served as a bridge between the mundane and the mystical. In Hinduism, for example, the primal sound Om is considered the foundational vibration of the universe, an audible essence of ultimate reality. The recitation of Om connects the practitioner to the cosmos, encouraging harmony with the universal rhythm. This connection extends beyond any particular deity. Rather, it resonates with the entire universe's nature and structure. This sound is neither simple nor random. It encompasses complex spiritual ideas, signifying the union of the past, present, and future. Its sustained chant is intended to activate subtle energies within the body and mind, creating an alignment between the personal and cosmic, individual and universal. Similarly, within the Christian tradition, the word Amen has been used to convey a deep affirmation of faith, a statement that aligns the individual's will with the divine. Though the term Amen has transitioned from its early Semitic roots to become a universal affirmation, it holds a significant vibrational power within the Christian liturgy. The conclusion of prayers with Amen is not merely a statement of agreement but a sacred commitment, a vocalization that transforms intent into spiritual action. Its ancient origin traces back to the Hebrew Bible, where it appears as a solemn declaration of truth, affirming one's bond with God's promises and truth. In Christian liturgy, Amen is understood as an invocation of divine truth, merging the petitioner's desires with divine will, hence bringing their faith to fruition. Interestingly, both Om and Amen highlight how words, specifically certain vocalizations, serve as conduits of spiritual energy. These words are not random syllables. They carry vibrational power and invoke specific spiritual outcomes, embedding the speaker within a universal language of connection, power, and transformation. This vibrational philosophy has been substantiated in contemporary fields like quantum physics, where scientists explore how vibrations form the core structure of matter. Thus, the age-old belief that sacred sounds can influence reality is no longer solely a mystical conviction but is gaining interest in scientific circles as well. When we move to other ancient traditions, we find similar principles embedded within their sacred vocabulary. For instance, in Islamic practice, the recitation of Bismillah, meaning in the name of God, is a powerful invocation used to consecrate and bless actions, infusing them with divine energy. This sacred phrase is often seen as a protective formula that precedes actions, large or small, ensuring they are aligned with divine will. It not only offers protection but infuses the everyday with a sense of the divine, creating a subtle but profound shift in the practitioner's awareness. By consciously invoking Bismillah, one is reminded of the omnipresence of the divine, creating an intimate connection with the Creator that resonates within and beyond the self. Likewise, in the Buddhist tradition, the chant Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo, translated as devotion to the mystic law of the Lotus Sutra, serves as a central practice in Nichiren Buddhism. This chant is believed to tap into the universal law that governs the cosmos, aligning the individual with the rhythm of the universe. Devotees believe that chanting Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo brings clarity, strength, and inner peace. Much like Om in Hinduism or Amen in Christianity, Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo is perceived as a sound with transformative power, directly impacting the practitioner's spiritual consciousness. The sacred potential of language is not merely in its meaning but also in its ability to evoke an energy that connects the speaker with realms beyond the visible. As we examine different cultures, the common thread of vocalizing these sounds reveals a profound understanding of the human relationship with the unseen. This connection is a constant across traditions, where the mere utterance of a sacred word becomes an invocation of divine force, a catalyst for transformation and a gateway to divine wisdom. In Judaism, another example emerges in the powerful invocation of the Tetragrammaton YHWH, representing the ineffable name of God. The mystique of YHWH lies in its inexpressibility. To pronounce it would be to claim knowledge of the divine essence itself, a task deemed impossible and forbidden. The letters, however, do not exist in silence. Their vocalization or lack thereof embodies the ultimate reverence for the divine mystery. In Kabbalistic teachings, this name represents the divine presence, yet it remains shrouded in mystery, revealing how silence, too, can hold sacred power. The ancient Egyptians also placed immense value on the power of words, particularly through the concept of Heka. Heka can be translated as both magic and the power of words, showing a unique belief that words carry an intrinsic magical power to affect the world. Egyptian priests and magicians would meticulously recite specific words and spells to invoke gods, heal the sick, or protect against malevolent forces. To the Egyptians, words were more than communication tools, they were vehicles for divine power. The belief in Heka suggests that words, when correctly spoken, could bridge the gap between the human and the divine, a sacred act that alters the practitioner's reality. In the mystical realms of Sufism, words take on an additional layer of meaning. The Sufi tradition regards the practice of dhikr, meaning remembrance, as central to achieving spiritual enlightenment. Dhikr involves the repetition of certain phrases or names of God, like Allah or Hu, to remind the soul of its divine origin and help it transcend the material world. For the Sufi mystic, words are instruments for inward reflection and divine connection, uniting the heart and mind in a dance of remembrance. The repetition of these phrases is not mindless but serves as a tuning of the soul's vibrational frequency to that of the divine, allowing the practitioner to align with divine love, truth, and unity. As we see, words, especially sacred words, serve as more than sounds. They are powerful keys to different states of consciousness and bridges to divine realms. From the biblical invocations of Hebrew prophets to the chanting of Tibetan monks, the utterance of a word, a syllable, or a phrase is understood as an opening to the divine, a moment where human and sacred energies meet. The chant becomes the vessel through which the soul transcends its earthly bindings, making way for enlightenment, transformation, and spiritual awakening. In Native American traditions, words hold a similar revered status. Many tribes believe that spoken words and songs carry immense spiritual power. The Song of Life, for instance, is a common ritual that calls upon the spirits of nature for guidance and support. Through these sacred chants, practitioners believe they can summon rain, bring healing, or guide lost souls to peace. Native American chants and songs highlight how words are not merely expressions but vehicles that carry intention, purpose, and the spirit of the people, binding them to their ancestors and the natural world. These sacred sounds become echoes of tradition, resilience, and an acknowledgement of humanity's deep connection with the earth and its forces. From ancient Greece to indigenous African cultures, sound, when imbued with intention, has always been a pathway to connect with forces beyond human comprehension. The Orphic hymns of Greece, for instance, were sung as invocations to deities, serving as both pleas and praises that would harmonize the physical with the spiritual. African incantations similarly blend rhythm, sound, and intent to create a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a practice deeply rooted in a belief that words, infused with the right intent, summon spirits and direct spiritual energy. Each of these practices reveals a timeless recognition that sound holds a unique resonance capable of influencing reality. Across time and culture, the power of these sacred words transcends language and location, reflecting humanity's deep-rooted desire to connect with the divine and to channel spiritual energy for healing, transformation, and enlightenment. Whether a single syllable or a complex chant, the words we utter shape our reality and our connection to the cosmos. In continuing this exploration, we delve further into the transformative impact of sacred words, examining how the repetition, rhythm, and resonance of these words serve as powerful tools for aligning human consciousness with higher spiritual planes. The act of repetition, known as mantra in the Hindu and Buddhist traditions, or as incantation in other practices, amplifies the energetic power embedded within sacred words, reinforcing their effects on the speaker's spiritual and psychological states. Repetition in spiritual practice is far more than mechanical utterance. It is an intentional practice aimed at tuning the individual's internal frequency to a higher state of awareness, where words transcend their usual boundaries to embody the divine in a visceral, tangible way. Consider the Hindu mantra Om Namah Shivaya, which translates to I bow to Shiva. Here, the sound Om acts as a universal frequency, believed to embody the entire cosmos, while Namah Shivaya acknowledges the divine power of Shiva, representing both creation and destruction. Repeated in a meditative state, this mantra allows the practitioner to invoke the qualities of Shiva within themselves, encouraging inner strength, resilience, and clarity. Through repetition, the mantra is intended to dissolve the practitioner's ego and limited self-perception, gradually leading them to a state of transcendence. It becomes a vibrational journey that, while outwardly simple, works at profound levels within the psyche and soul, unlocking states of calm, compassion, and deep spiritual insight. This principle of repetition as a transformative tool is also found in Christianity, specifically within the practice of the Jesus Prayer. Often articulated as, "Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me," this phrase is traditionally repeated as a meditative chant, sometimes synchronized with the breath. In Eastern Orthodox Christianity, this repetitive prayer is used as a means of deepening one's relationship with the divine, focusing the mind and fostering a sense of peace. Practitioners of the Jesus Prayer view this repetition as a way of surrendering their personal concerns, allowing God's mercy and love to permeate their consciousness. Over time, it is believed that the prayer ceases to be an external action and instead transforms into an internalized state of being, a continuous invocation that echoes within the soul. In Sufism, the Islamic mystical tradition, we encounter a similar practice of remembrance known as dhikr, or the remembrance of God. Dhikr is often performed through the repetitive invocation of God's names, such as Allah, or specific phrases like La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God. Sufi practitioners engage in dhikr to purify the heart, bring it closer to God and cultivate divine love. In Sufi philosophy, the heart is seen as the core of divine connection, and through repetitive chanting the practitioner's heart is cleansed of worldly concerns, becoming receptive to divine truth and love. This practice can range from quiet, individual recitation to vibrant group chants, accompanied by rhythmic movements or even dance, which amplify the prayer's effect. Here, words and rhythm fuse together, transcending language to form a direct, experiential link with the divine, where every repetition reinforces the practitioner's connection to God. The ancient mantra practice is also prominent in Buddhism, particularly within Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan monks chant mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum, associated with the Bodhisattva of compassion, Avalokiteshvara. This mantra is often translated as the jewel in the lotus, symbolizing the unfolding of spiritual wisdom and compassion. For Tibetan Buddhists, the repetition of this mantra is believed to cultivate compassion and dispel negative karma. It becomes a form of spiritual medicine, purifying both the mind and environment of the practitioner. Through each repetition, practitioners gradually transform their minds and souls, aligning their energy with the compassion and wisdom embodied by Avalokiteshvara. Like a river carving its path through rock, the mantra shapes the inner landscape of the practitioner, deepening their compassion and spiritual insight with each recitation. In the Jewish tradition, the Shema prayer holds a similar transformative power. The Shema is an affirmation of faith stating, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." This sacred declaration is central to Jewish spiritual life, recited daily by devout Jews to reaffirm their covenant with God. The repetitive utterance of the Shema transcends the literal meaning of the words, becoming a spiritual anchor, a point of connection that reminds practitioners of their sacred duty and relationship with God. The Shema prayer, therefore, is not merely a statement of monotheism but an invocation of unity between God and humanity. Repeated over generations, it has shaped not only individual spirituality but also the collective identity of the Jewish people, acting as both a personal and communal bond with the divine. In ancient Egypt, the power of words, known as Heka, was so revered that specific phrases were carefully guarded by priests, believed to hold the power to summon deities, offer protection and transform reality. Priests would repeat sacred formulas to ensure safe passage through the underworld, bless the deceased, or invoke protection from malevolent spirits. These utterances were considered potent tools, capable of bridging worlds and invoking divine intervention. For the Egyptians, words were not passive symbols. They were living forces, dynamic in their capacity to enact change in both the material and spiritual realms. This understanding of sound and repetition as conduits for divine energy underscores a shared belief across cultures, that spoken words, especially those invested with sacred intent, have the power to shape reality. Meanwhile, in African indigenous practices, particularly within Yoruba and other West African traditions, the repetition of sacred names and phrases is an integral part of religious rites and rituals. Oriki, or praise poetry, involves chanting or singing the attributes of deities and ancestors, creating a spiritual connection that honors and invokes the presence of these powerful beings. Oriki is believed to awaken the divine energy of the entity being praised, fostering a deep bond between the practitioner and the divine. This invocation, when repeated, allows practitioners to feel the presence of their ancestors and gods, reinforcing their identity, history, and cultural heritage. In the Yoruba belief, these words are not merely praise, they are acts of creation, summoning and honoring forces that guide and protect the community. Even within the confines of ancient Greek mystery schools, Repetition of specific words and chants was central to the rites and rituals that sought to connect initiates with divine forces. The Orphic hymns, for example, were poetic invocations that praised gods like Dionysus and Hecate. These hymns were chanted repeatedly, not only as a form of worship but as a means of accessing divine favor and wisdom. Greek mystics believed that these hymns held a vibrational quality capable of altering consciousness, enabling the practitioner to transcend their physical limitations and commune with divine beings. This repetition acted as a ritual purification, preparing the mind and soul to receive higher wisdom, transforming the practitioner into a vessel for divine understanding. In Tibetan Buddhism, the sound of the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum is often carved into stones or written on prayer flags, creating a constant vibrational presence in the environment. When wind or water passes over these inscriptions, it is believed to carry the mantra's blessings into the world, amplifying its effect. This practice illustrates the belief that repetition is not only effective when spoken but that it continues to resonate through the environment. Each repetition is a ripple of sacred intent, affecting the landscape, the people, and even the animals that come into contact with it. Tibetan Buddhists believe this practice generates positive karma and deepens compassion, illustrating how the power of sacred words extends beyond the individual, influencing the surrounding world. As we examine these traditions, it becomes evident that the repetition of sacred words is not merely a spiritual exercise but a universal act of creation. In voicing sacred sounds, practitioners across cultures and eras have engaged in an act that transcends individual language and belief, tapping into a universal frequency that resonates through the ages. These sounds, whether whispered in a dark temple, chanted in a forest, or spoken aloud in prayer, reflect humanity's inherent desire to connect, transform, and ascend through the power of sound. Repetition becomes an act of devotion, a rhythm that syncs the finite with the infinite, uniting the heart and soul with the timeless essence of the divine. By repeating these words, the practitioner participates in a cosmic dance, each utterance strengthening the bridge between the mundane and the sacred. The sacred word, charged with intent and love, transcends its earthly origin to echo within the divine, becoming an invocation that reverberates through both body and spirit, aligning the individual with the timeless energies that govern the universe. In our final exploration of the transformative impact of sacred words, we turn to the subtle yet profound influence these sounds have on the consciousness of practitioners, enabling them to transcend the boundaries of ordinary perception and align with the divine. Sacred words, when voiced with intent, serve as spiritual instruments, fine-tuning one's inner being to resonate with universal principles, invoking a sense of oneness with all of existence. This transcendent quality found in sacred utterances reflects a universal truth, that within each syllable and tone, there lies a potential for both personal and cosmic transformation. Across cultures and religions, practitioners recognize that these words are vehicles that carry them beyond themselves, creating an interconnected web of sacred experiences shared across time and space. One of the most profound effects of sacred words is their capacity to dissolve the ego, merging the individual with something greater. In the Buddhist concept of shunyata, or emptiness, sacred chants like Om Mani Padme Hum are understood to help the practitioner let go of attachments to self, allowing them to realize the interconnectedness of all things. As this mantra resonates, the practitioner's focus shifts from a narrow sense of self to an awareness of being part of a larger, cosmic flow. This surrender of ego does not imply a loss of identity but rather a transcendence that brings clarity, peace, and a sense of unity with all living beings. Through each repetition, the boundaries of individuality fade, and one experiences a profound sense of universality, embodying compassion and wisdom that extends beyond personal limitations. In Christian mysticism, the practice of centering prayer offers a parallel experience. Here, sacred words or phrases such as God, peace, or love serve as focal points in silent prayer, allowing the practitioner to quiet their mind and enter a state of contemplative union with God. This practice is more than a meditation. It is an intentional release of personal desires and thoughts, creating a space where divine presence can be fully realized. The repeated invocation of a sacred word becomes an anchor, drawing the practitioner into a stillness where the presence of God is felt beyond intellectual understanding. Centering prayer, like the repetition of mantras in Eastern traditions, invites the practitioner to transcend mental noise, fostering a state of profound inner peace where the divine can dwell within. Another notable example of transcendence through sacred words lies within the Hebrew tradition, particularly in Kabbalistic teachings where words are not only spoken but visualized as channels of divine energy. The practice of meditating on the Tetragrammaton, the four-letter name of God, YHWH, is said to open gateways to higher consciousness, helping practitioners attune to the essence of God. Kabbalistic meditation is deeply symbolic. Each letter of the Hebrew alphabet is considered a building block of creation, carrying specific vibrational qualities that align with divine attributes. Through the repetitive visualization and silent recitation of these letters, practitioners enter a meditative state that lifts them beyond the physical realm, allowing them to glimpse the divine essence that underpins reality. In this way, sacred words not only serve as invocations but also as metaphysical tools, guiding the practitioner into realms of heightened spiritual awareness and unity with God's light. In many indigenous traditions, sacred words and songs serve as direct connections to ancestral spirits, linking the present generation with those who have come before. For example, in certain Native American practices, chants are used in vision quests, a ritual journey intended to seek guidance from the spirit world. The repeated invocation of sacred words during these quests is believed to open a portal to the spiritual plane, allowing practitioners to receive messages, visions, or insights from their ancestors. These chants bridge the physical and spiritual worlds, creating an experience of transcendence that allows individuals to reconnect with their roots, understand their purpose, and feel guided by forces beyond the material. This type of transcendent experience through sacred sounds illustrates a deep respect for the interconnectedness of life and the enduring presence of ancestral wisdom. Among the various mystical practices that use sound for spiritual elevation, Sufism presents a unique approach with its emphasis on ecstatic love and unity. Through the practice of sama, listening, which often includes the repetitive chanting of God's names or attributes, Sufi practitioners enter a state of divine intoxication. The repetitive utterance of Allah or Tu, a name for God representing the essence of divinity, during Daikar creates a rhythm that transports practitioners beyond the ordinary realms of consciousness. This rhythm, combined with focused devotion, allows them to experience an intense, personal communion with the divine. For the Sufi, each repetition is a step closer to dissolving the self and merging into the beloved, symbolizing a journey from individuality into a universal experience of divine love. The repetition of sacred sounds thus functions as a spiritual technology, an ancient yet timeless means of transcending limitations and experiencing the boundless. Across religious and cultural traditions, we find that sacred words help practitioners detach from everyday concerns, attuning them to a higher reality where divine principles govern all existence. This transcendence is not simply an escape from the self. Rather, it is an expansion, a process of remembering one's intrinsic connection to the universe and the divine. Sacred words serve as echoes of this ultimate reality, resonating within the individual and the cosmos alike, bringing one to a realization that they are both a unique soul and an inseparable part of a divine whole. In the Vedic tradition, the concept of Shabda Brahman encapsulates this transcendence beautifully. Shabda Brahman translates to sound as divine reality, positing that sacred sounds are not merely representations of the divine but embodiments of it. When Vedic hymns and mantras are chanted with correct pronunciation and intention, they are believed to directly invoke the presence of the divine, harmonizing the practitioner's mind and spirit with cosmic energies. This understanding implies that sound, when made sacred, holds the same potential as any material offering. It serves as a vessel for divine power, capable of transforming both the practitioner and their surroundings. Through disciplined chanting, practitioners experience Shabda Brahman as a gateway to transcendence, where the self dissolves into pure sound, and the essence of the divine becomes a lived reality. In ancient Chinese philosophy, the Taoist tradition also values the transcendental nature of sound, especially in the practice of Qigong. Taoist practitioners use specific sounds to channel energy Qi through the body's meridians, harmonizing their internal energies with the universal flow of Qi. Through the vocalization of sacred sounds like Su, He, and Shi, each representing a particular organ and its corresponding energy, practitioners experience a cleansing and balancing effect. The repetition of these sounds serves as a method of aligning one's energy with nature, promoting physical healing as well as spiritual clarity. Here, the sacred power of sound not only transcends ordinary consciousness but also restores harmony within the body, reflecting the Taoist belief in unity between the microcosm and macrocosm. Thus, the power of sacred words lies in their ability to transcend time, space, and the individual self, creating a bridge to the eternal. Each utterance becomes a portal, guiding practitioners beyond the limits of ordinary perception into realms where divine energy flows unimpeded. These sacred sounds enable the listener to experience a connection with forces beyond comprehension, embodying the universal desire to transcend the physical and engage with the spiritual. Through sacred words, practitioners across cultures touch the fabric of reality itself, discovering that sound is not merely a means of communication but a conduit to the divine, capable of altering both inner and outer worlds. In the end, the transcendence offered by sacred words and sounds reveals a profound truth, that within each of us lies the capacity to resonate with the divine. Through the intentional invocation of these words, one steps into a timeless practice, joining generations who have sought to understand, connect with, and embody the sacred. Each chant, prayer, and invocation is a ripple in the fabric of existence, resonating across dimensions and guiding the soul toward union with the eternal. Through these sacred utterances, practitioners realize that transcendence is not a distant ideal but an ever-present reality, accessible to anyone willing to speak, listen, and resonate with the sounds that have echoed through humanity's spiritual quest since time immemorial.